Your mate, I choked out, staring at the woman who replaced my mother. My father's betrayal cut deep. How could he forget us so easily? But when he knelt, begging for forgiveness, I shattered his hope with one sentence: I love you, but I don't forgive you. Chapter 25. Your mate. I choked out, my eyes fixed on the raven-haired woman before me. The atmosphere around us grew tense, and I felt Lucas' hands stiffen against my back. His protective instinct kicked in as he sensed my inner turmoil, the confusion that threatened to overwhelm me. How had I never heard of these people during my father's time at the castle? The woman's audacious smile only fueled a violence within me that I hadn't known existed. My gaze shifted to Slaiman, who remained crouched on the ground, whispering to Nader and Ahmed. The two men looked up at me with an admiration that made me uncomfortable, as if I were some prized artifact on display. Father nodded, his voice tinged with a warmth I'd rarely heard before. After your mother died, I was left hollow. The goddess blessed me with the Batool, who helped me rise and conquer the north to what it is today. His eyes softened as he looked down at her, a small smile playing on his lips. None of this would have been possible without her. Really? I arched an eyebrow, my tone ripping with sarcasm. Well, little witch, well, I beg to differ. Lucas' fingers pressed into my lower back, a silent warning. Our eyes met for a brief moment, blue clashing with green, but I looked away without hesitation and stepped forward, leaving the warmth of his touch behind. Was I being a complete arse? Absolutely. Did Lucas' reprobative glance make me regret it? Not one bit. Father scolded, his disappointment palpable. I was a broken man when I lost both you and your mother. Without Batool, I would have never taken this position. You mean without Batool, you wouldn't have forgotten about mother and me? I spat, deliberately using her first name despite the customs that dictated otherwise. Would you like me to congratulate you? Father's nostrils flared, his alpha wolf pride clearly wounded. Even that small action, the short breath released from his nose, ignited my anger further. I never forgot about your mother nor you, he insisted, stepping forward and releasing Batool from his embrace. I looked for you every day the first year I lost you, but when I became alpha, I didn't have the time. So I sent the men I told you about. I was numb without you both. Batool has nothing to do with me stopping. His defense of her made my skin crawl. Batool, with her gentle features and beautiful hair cascading down her back, looked every bit the perfect mother figure. But the thought of her replacing my own mother was too much to bear. The happiness radiating from my father as he stood beside her was undeniable. I had never witnessed him smile at my mother like that. Never seen him wrap his arms around her waist with such tenderness. The realization that my parents might never have truly loved each other hit me hard, replacing my anger with a longing I couldn't quite define. Perhaps, I thought, if I had seen my parents look at each other the way Father and Batool did, I might have been better equipped to handle the confusing emotions I felt around Luca. Maybe then, I wouldn't have been so afraid to ask Mother even the simplest of questions. If they hadn't acted like two stoic crocs rolling past each other's, maybe I wouldn't have been born the absolute mess I was. I felt Luca tried to link me, but I shut the door of my thoughts closed. All right then. I let out a small breath. Congratulations on finding your female. It's best I rest. Slaiman began, but I interrupted him. The ride here was long. Brother. I refrained from calling Slaiman by his name, because I was hurt that he hadn't mentioned Father's new family to me earlier. Can one of the commoners please guide me to any chamber? Your chamber, Father corrected. And 𝐊𝐢, please. I really hope you can join us in tonight's feast with the pack. They've been anticipating meeting you. My jaw ticked. But nonetheless, I nodded. It was a weird feeling that settled upon my being, a fullness in my chest accompanied with a heaviness over my body. I was happy to be in my home, just not surrounded by such foreign people. For my first day there, I expected Father Slaiman and I to reminisce on all of our moments with Mother and the memories we made together. I expected us to let everything we felt deep within our souls out to each other's, but I guessed I was wrong. "He'll be there," I said. "Please have my seat next to the king. It is still my duty to protect him." Her trust through father's eyes as I pushed away the position he offered me. "Royal Guard of the North." He gulped and nodded. "All right. 𝐊𝐲𝐵, you have several caftans in the closet of your home. Wear whichever you like tonight. If you do like any cosmetics or jewelry, come by here before 6 p.m. 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐼𝐻, voice smooth as honey. This is your father's home, so you don't need an invitation to come over." At the sound of her voice, the strings of my heart pulled. I didn't have it in me to reply. I feared I would spit something unruly out and regret it later. So to reply, I nodded curtly, staring directly into her dark eyes. My reaction was enough to put a slight smile into her face. One of the twin boys slipped out of Slaiman's grip and ran, so he stood a few steps in front of me. He was beautiful. With tan skin and honey-brown eyes, he was the epitome of northern beauty. His nose was strong and his chin was protruding, forcing his lips to pout naturally. "You're the warrior that lived in the banished lands for 6 years," he exclaimed, eyes wide. "Could I call the craftsman so he can paint a picture of me with you?" My lips rose naturally at his reaction. This boy, either 5 years old or more, was my stepbrother. From his aura I could sense he was an alpha blood, much stronger than Slaiman I could ever be. That fact that I was related to such a being made me feel prideful, but it also threatened my awfully strong pride. I squatted down so my face leveled with his. "What would I get in exchange of posing next to you?" I asked. His lips parted and he turned around to face his father, confused. "Answer her?" "Nader, sent by law." Nader faced me once more and spoke. "In exchange to one painting with me, I will give you a lifetime supply of dates and rice." "Nader, I don't think that's how it works." "Great. Then it'll be there." I interrupted my father, sending him a lingering stare. "Awesome. Bubba." She said yes. The guard said yes. Nader ran to father and wrapped his arms around his thighs. "Can Almond join too?" "That's up to you," Dad replied, staring down at his son lovingly. I longed for that look, but I decided against speaking my thoughts. "Dahlia, please, guide the honorable warrior to the river mansion. King of Lycans, would you like to rest as well?" Slaiman gestured for the commoner to guide me before looking at Luca. Luca shook his head. "I will follow the guard to her mansion and discuss castle matters. Thank you for the offer." And so Luca and I left father's castle like home and walked to the river mansion, a lump on my shoulders. The mansion was beautiful, situated right in front of a sandy river with palm trees and bushes surrounding the entire house. It was a classic northern beach home. I loved every inch of it. Every swirl carved into the concrete wall and every swivel of paint marked on the walls. The windows were tall and bright. The carpets were warm and fuzzy, and the bedroom on the upper floor was hypnotizing. "It's a beautiful house," Luca said, laying a sizzling hand on my shoulder. "I know. Everything in the north has become so beautiful since I left. Since Dad mated with Batool and since Mother had left the earth. It was more colorful, filled with life and blossoming with trees. Even the sand looked more orange. I couldn't help but feel out of place. Leela, the woman doesn't mean any harm." Luca walked so he was in front of me. "I know you feel abandoned. But really, you should have seen the look in your father's face when you reacted the way you did." The image of father's face falling rushed to my mind and I frowned. "He seeks your validation. 𝐊𝐷, I'm sure 𝐻 resenting the fact that he was blessed with a mate right now." Luca placed his hand on my chin, pulled upwards, so I was looking straight at him. "I know the feeling. The moment I found out you were a northerner, I hated the fact that I was king. I hated that I had anything to do with your hurting." My hand wrapped around his wrist and I squeezed, reassuring him. "Don't hate yourself because of me. Hobby." His eyes shone a bright amber and he took a step closer to me, chest grazing my own. Care to translate. "My love," I said, voice velvety. "It means My love, so you love me. Not quite. You wound me. I tapped the area above his heart, grazing my fingers over his shirt. As I should. He purred, cupping my face with one hand. I'm going to kiss you now. All right. His lips touched mine, and that was all it took for me to melt in his arms. This kiss was different from all our other kisses. It was slow and sensual and filled with passion, so saturated even I was overwhelmed. Rather than using his words to talk to me, he used his lips. And I found that beautiful. The bond sizzled deep within the bottom of my heart as our tongues slid across one another, and it was that knew his mark deserved to be in my neck. He groaned his S without closed my fingers through his hair and pulled, bringing me a satisfaction I didn't know existed. Luca was the first to pull away, leaving me itching for more. His fingers grazed the back of my neck as he stared down at me with inexplicable emotion in his eyes. I'm proud of you, he said, lips rising. My brows furrowed. How so? Well, from my experience. A chuckle left his swollen lips. You usually punch someone that makes you mad. Your brother could say the same too. My lips formed an O shape. I hadn't realized just how bad my temper was before Luca mentioned it. He was right. If we were back at the castle, I would have easily knocked my father out and chained him down with the chains he used for armor. But I didn't. Instead, I acted like the bigger person and left him with his own thoughts to fight with. Before I knew it, Luca placed a chaste kiss on my lips. What was that for? You have a beautiful soul, he said. My cheeks reddened and my eyes lowered. Don't tell me you're getting shy now, he cackled, head falling backwards. Goddess, you're adorable. I softly swatted his peck before digging my face into his chest. Stop. I can't handle compliments. Maybe compliment me, but I have dignity. Luca laughed a laugh that came from the bottom of his belly. The sound was wonderful, masculine in every way, shape, and form. The warmth of his body began turning my being sleepy, and I believe he noticed, considering his laughter dimmed down. As my eyes began sliding closed, I felt him look down at me. Sadly, I wasn't able to witness the emotion that passed through them. But it felt nice. My chest felt impossibly fuller at his presence. Suddenly, hands came under my knees and lifted me. It was then I realized that Luca had carried me. I just want to ask, sweetheart, Luca said, grip on me tightening. Can I rest with you? Please. I mumbled. All right then. A kiss was laid on my forehead. I'm putting you down now. My body sunk into a wonderful cotton mattress and a silk was placed above my tiring body. Please wake me up before the dinner, I said, voice sleepy. I know. He'll take care of you. And just like that, I fell asleep to the sound of his breathing. Chapter 26. I didn't visit Batool that day. Jewels were the least of my concerns, and Luca said my kaftan looked beautiful enough without the gold. He even insisted that he could go to the market and buy me a set of jewelry, but I told him I didn't care much for it. I was just glad he had woken me up an hour before the dinner. My grog Innes would have made me late if he hadn't. I readjusted the belt of my black kaftan inside. Just the thought of having to meet with father's new woman made my skin crawl. The only thing stopping me from completely canceling my visit there was how beautiful my dress was, not to mention comfortable too. I stared back at my reflection in the mirror and thought about how I'd greet Batool. As a northern native, she would most probably greet me with a kiss on each cheek, and I really didn't want that. Maybe, if I reached her hand quick enough, I would only have to shake it and skip the kissing part. It would be explicitly rude of me to do so, but I really didn't want to be anywhere near her. She made me feel like I was a lump of coal thrown away into a mine, and she was a stack of gold. As the Luna of the North, she would also be wearing a white kaftan, which made me detest her further because white was my father's favorite color. Goddess, she had so much power over my father it scared me. Stop it. Leela, I said under my breath. She doesn't deserve a spot in your thoughts. My mind suddenly traveled to Nader, the beautiful boy who wanted a painting with me. He was sweet, the definition of what a northern prince would look like, and nobody could deny that. Not even me. I was sure he would grow one day as tall as Luca and have shoulders broader than my father's, but I didn't want to think about that. I didn't want to think about the newer, more polished family of my father. I rubbed the area above my heart, feeling it twist painfully. It hurt. A lot. Especially on Slaiman's part, because he didn't bother telling me of any of this. He decided to stay silent while I risked my life for him in the outskirts, defending both his name and father's. I did so much for them. Followed through with mother's prophecy while they stayed in the north and manufactured a new family for themselves. They even had the audacity to send for soldiers to look for me. Suddenly, I detested the both of them. I hated everyone except those two boys, Luca and the castle dwellers. It was only when I concluded that my heart felt a peculiar anger towards them that I noticed a stray air leave the sockets of my eyes. I gulped and wiped it away, embarrassed that I was actually crying over to men who did almost nothing for me. It's only going to be a few hours, I said to myself. You can do this. I patted down the skirt of my dress and opened the door, only to be startled at the sight of Luca standing behind it with his fist raised, ready to knock. I stumbled backwards, a hand held to my chest. Goddess, he scared me. My eyes widened as they landed on the black velvet box he held in hand. Luca, don't tell me you got me jewels. I got you jewels. Damn it, I uttered, the eyes glued to the box. My reaction was the opposite of what I was feeling, though, and I was sure he could sense it in the bond as well. I was excited to see what he got me, and my heart swelled at the thought of him buying me something. Even though his birthday was in a few days, he decided to get me something. Show me. Then, I grabbed him by the wrist and pulled him inside, shutting the door behind him. What did you get me? He pulled the box open and revealed the fascinating piece of gold. My lips parted simply at the sight of the wonderful gold necklace and crystals and a black ruby in its center. It came with 2 long earrings that were made of that same ruby. How he knew exactly what I liked, I didn't know. All I knew was that I loved what he had gotten me with a passion. Do you like them? He asked, breath fanning my forehead. Silently, I nodded, a toothy smile on my lips. Can you put them on me? I asked, looking up at him. I was waiting for you to ask. He breathed out. Turn around. I let go of his wrist and turned around, grabbing my hair and pulling it upwards so he had full access to my neck. I felt his presence form behind me as he rose his arms and wrapped the necklace around my neck, clipping it so it stayed there. When he was done putting on my earrings, he rested both his hands atop my collarbone, allowing their warmth to sleep into my chest. Involuntarily, I leaned against him, my back grazing his front. You look beautiful, he whispered into my ear, breath hot. So do you. I don't think I've ever been called beautiful. Would you rather I call you handsome? I asked, wrapping my hand around one of his fingers. Call me whatever you want, so long as it's coming from your lips. It'll be ecstatic. His voice was smiling. I pulled his hand further down my chest and laid a kiss on his knuckles, suddenly feeling affectionate towards my male. He was the only one that was actually there for me, the only one ready to drop everything and come to my aid. I didn't know how I only realized it when I saw father's new family, but I was glad I finally did. I got you some rings too. Thought they would match with the gold accents of your dress. I spun to face him at his statement. Luca, this is too much. The necklace must have cost you a fortune already. A furious blush overcame my cheeks as I watched him pull 3 rings from his slacks. Luca, if I can hear you scream my name this much, I would buy you presents every day. Sweetheart. My blush deepened and my mouth snapped shut. Goddess, how could he shut me up so easily? He leaned down and laid a chaste kiss on my lips, forcing my heart to flutter like the wings of a butterfly before grabbing my wrist and pulling my hand upwards. Sparks erupted through the entirety of my arm as he did so. Now he began, sliding a ring through my middle finger. The merchant said this ring represents agility and power. That's why it looks like a snake. This one, he paused as he slid a ring through my index finger, represents robust femininity. It looks like a lion's tail. And this one, he slid an emerald ring through my ring finger, represents singularity, meaning you are mine, and you are taken. I stared at my long, tan fingers. They looked wonderful, slender and feminine with the rings. My eyes shifted so they were staring into his own. Thanks to my heels, I didn't have to go on my toes to kiss his mark. At the feel of my lips on his neck, he let out a low moan, holding on to my waist for support. I let my teeth graze his mark and heard his chest vibrate underneath my breasts, loving the way he purred at my touch. "Leela," he warned, voice velvety. "Stop." But I don't want it to. I pouted unknowingly, lowering my gaze. I was acting very needy, but I needed to soften up. This tough facade of mine was tiring me greatly. "Neither do I." "Verdi," he rumbled, his warm hand cupping my cheek. "But I'm an alpha male. If you don't stop now, I won't be able to stop until I'm finished." Sighing, I wrapped my arms around his waist and dug my face into his chest. I fit perfectly. Within his large frame I fit like a missing puzzle piece, and I loved it. "Are you all right?" he asked, hand rubbing at my back. "Why do you ask?" I asked, looking up at him. "Well, he looked down at me with a smile on his face. "You're ever this affectionate with me." My heart fell into my stomach and I went to pull away. "I'm sorry. Does it bother you?" He grabbed me by the elbow and pulled me flush against him. I didn't know it was possible, but he wrapped his arms tighter around me. "Now why in the world would you think it bothers me?" At the feel of my chest against his own, I hid my face in his chest. I don't know. I mumbled. Voice small. "I just want to know if everything's all right." "Verdi." He pulled away from me so he could look at me properly. "Your bond feels gloomy." My gaze lowered as I looked to the ground. He felt it too. I didn't want him to feel the way I felt. Goddess. I didn't want anyone, including Batool, to feel the way I felt. "Talk to me." Luca's salty blue orb stared down at me, begging. "I can't bear to know you're feeling like this and not do anything about it. Is it Batool? What can I do to help?" My chest rose as I took a breath. It was unusual of me to voice out my concerns and complaints to people. Usually it was me listening. But now, the tables had turned. Well, my throat tightened and traitorous stares rushed to my eyes. I was so embarrassed. For Luca, I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be the warrior princess everyone thought I was. It's just that. My bottom lip shook with the urge to cry. I don't know. I feel a bit out of place in my home. "Sweetheart," Luca let out, softly pulling me to his chest. Tears rushed out of my eyes and I sniffed. I hated crying, especially in front of my male. But that time I really couldn't control the way I felt. All those years of pent-up hope that I would one day see my family only to be met with replacement and forgetfuls broke me, and I didn't realize just how hurt I was until I spoke to Luca. He really did bring out everything in me. "You are Leela," he reminded me. "Forget the hatted. You are Leela, the warrior of all 4 kingdoms. You have the name your mother gave you, and you held it up with pride and power." I didn't sob because I didn't have it in me to do so. I just let my tears flow freely as I wrapped my arms around my male. "Your father has wronged you, but you can see it in his eyes whenever he looks at you, that he needs you in his life to feel whole." Luca held me by my arms, his hold strong. "Right now, you may think that you are only his past, and you are right about that. You are his past. You are what made him the man he is today. You are his future and his first daughter." His first daughter. A sob left my throat at the sound of that. I didn't feel like his first daughter. At most, I felt like the girl he spent 6 years training. I didn't feel important to him. A mere villager he thought to aid. "Sweetheart." Luca rubbed my back as another sob left my throat. "You are the only one who will bring pride to his name. A son is a son, but a daughter is a daughter. She tells so much more about the kind of man he was. Then why'd he look at me the way he looks at his sons?" I croaked. Involuntarily, Lucas' arms around me tightened. Why doesn't he look at me the way he looks at his female? I sniffed softly. We stayed in comfortable silence for a minute or so, Luca looking down at me with inexplicable emotion swirling through his beautiful eyes and my gaze lowered to the ground. I felt insecure and needy like a wet towel left to dry alone. So I really couldn't face him, but I still needed to be in his presence. I don't know what I would have done if I lost. If I could. Leela, he paused for a beat. I would give you everything. My glossy eyes snapped to his, startled by his claim. But I know everything to you isn't gold. It isn't something you can find in a market. It isn't something you can hold. He took my wrist in his hand and placed my palm on his chest. It's something you can only feel and hear. He sighed, eyes flashing. Your father is in denial. Lucas' jaw ticked. I just hope it's not too late for him to realize that you are a daughter any man would be proud of. And that's when I let my sobs flow freely, unable to let go of my male. I don't know how much time had passed as we laid there, me crying into his chest and him rubbing my back, cooing meaningless words of praise into my ears. But I didn't want it to end. For once, I felt appreciated. I felt like I meant something to someone. I'm right here. Verdi? He said, voice low. Verdi, what does it mean? I croaked, wiping at my cheeks before looking at him. Verdi. His lips rose softly. It's Italian for green. I gasped. Shocked. No wonder you're so pale. You're a Westerner. He grimaced. Does that make you hate me? I shook my head, smiling at Luca. No, the opposite actually. It's not uncommon to find Westerners from the city of Italy mated to Northerners. In fact, it's quite common. Really now? I nodded, satisfied. In fact, I used to have a crush on a certain Italian back when I was younger. I don't know if 𝐏𝐻's still alive though. What was his name? Vanni. Short for Giovanni, Luca hissed, holding a hand to his heart. I lost my first love to a man named Giovanni. Really now? I rose a brow at him, smiling mischievously as I used his words against him. He let out a laugh, head falling backwards. She was a traditional Italian woman, much older than I. She found her mate and moved to the south. I was heartbroken for days. I frowned. What did you love about her? I was a young male back then, so don't judge my taste. But I loved the way she moved, like she was a napkin flying through air. He tilted his head as he looked at me. She kind of reminds me of you. I think I move like an absolute pig. He snorted. I beg to differ. You move like a swan. How so? Remember when your first heat arose? I blushed but nodded. In the bath. I didn't feel you come to me until I felt your skin touch mine. That's how gracefully you move. When I look at you, I'm reminded of anything delicate and agile, a reindeer, a bird, even a lion. Oh, I let out. Wow, I let out. Luca took my lips in his surprisingly for the second time that day, forcing the butterflies in my stomach to grow razor-edged wings. The pain was beautiful, and I didn't want it to end. It made me feel full. He was the first to pull away. What do you say? Shall we grace the desert with your presence? I nodded, taking in a shaky breath. We shall. I weaved my arm through Lucas and we walked out of our mansion. The walk was short considering Father's home was right down the market, which I didn't appreciate. So we made it right on time. We talked about Mater, how being painting could be an exhausting process, until we reached the pack house. We entered, suddenly bombarded by the smell of rice, meat and spices. My stomach churned at the sight of all the food, until we were approached by a northern guard. Royal Guard, King of Lycans. The guard began, please follow me to the Alpha's dining area. As we passed by the several dining tables, the commoners bowed down to us, their eyes filled with childlike wonder as they landed on me. Their reactions surprised me, but I didn't let it show. All I allowed myself to do was to smile and nod at them, trying my best to seem nice. The guard pushed open a set of large, golden doors and there sat Batool, Slaiman, Hamza, Laura and Father on a round table. My breath caught in my throat as Father's eyes landed on me. He stood up, eyes flashing at the sight of me. We greeted everyone, and to my dismay Batool kissed me on the cheek, but I let it slide. Leela, Father's voice seemed relieved. Please, have a seat. Lucas' jaw ticked at Father's blatant ignorance of his presence, and I didn't blame him. He was an alpha with an alpha complex. After all, he was bound to react to Father's view of him someday. My seat will be next to my male's. Thank you, I assured, ignoring the empty seat next to Father. He swallowed down an array of emotions before nodding and gesturing for the maids to place my chair next to Lucas' grand seat. Once the chair was placed, Luca and I sat. Instantly, my plate was filled with rice and a wonderful red sauce seething with spices. A chicken breast was placed atop my rice and my cup was filled with orange juice. It reminded me awfully much of life 6 years ago. Except in the past it was me filling my own plate and not a maid. How was the river mansion? I hope it's up to your taste, said Father, picking up his fork. You always loved the water, so I thought it would be best to give you a home right next to it. The home? So the mansion is fully mine? I asked, baffled. He nodded, smiling softly. It's all yours. Wow, I let out a small breath. Thank you. It wasn't all me, though. Batool aided in decorating the house. He laid his hand atop Batool's, squeezing softly. Oh, I stuffed rice into my mouth to stop myself from saying something I would regret. How nice, how nice. Didn't the castle inform you that it was rude to speak with food in your mouth? Slaiman scoffed. Didn't Mother teach you that secrets are the root of all evil? I bit back. Slaiman's jaw ticked as he dug his plate. Who in the hell was he to be mad at me? 6 years ago he would have brought me to the sandy shores of the north and taught me how to paint the sun after finding out I was distraught. Now this, being a complete and utter unnecessary asshole. I understood that the death of his first unborn child bared upon him an unremovable weight. But why was he taking it out on me? The pack is excited to meet you. Leela. Father changed the subject. They really are. I told them that you were a northerner and they couldn't be more proud. Do they know in your daughter? I asked, taking a sip of my juice. Slaiman Father a look of I told you so before getting back to his food. I'd much rather you express your thoughts to me instead of bickering in your links like a child. Brother, my nostrils flared. I did not risk my life for you to receive that kind of treatment. I felt Lucas' hand squeeze my thigh, attempting to soothe me. Slaiman's face reddened with anger. I was telling him I expected you to bring this up. Sister. He eyed Father before staring at me. The pack does not know about you. Leela. Really? My voice was filled with cold anger. So the pack does not know that the guard of all 4 kingdoms is their alpha's bastard daughter. Leela. Father exclaimed, shocked. You are not a bastard. Then why do you treat me like one? I asked. I'm Batool. Is this your new female's request? That I remain a secret? Batool's eyes fell and a sad expression overcame her face. No. Batool has nothing to do with this. Father clenched his fist. Leela, I was a mere trainer back then, so you're embarrassed. Let me finish. His eyes flashed, forcing me to submit. My jaw shut. I hated it. That he was using his alpha wolf to make me submit to him. But I didn't do much about it. The pack thinks you died. Leela. So did I at one point. So I didn't think to correct them. He took in a deep breath. It would be messy for me to announce that you are my daughter at this time. Am I not worth the mess? Father's jaw shut at my question. You sound like a child. Slaiman uttered underneath his breath. So help me goddess. Slaiman. I will not hesitate to grab my knife and slit your throat with it this instant. My eyes flashed to my wolf's bright green. Stand down. Kids. Calm down, kids. My head spun to face Father's. So now I'm your kid. Leela, calm down. Luca linked me. squeezing my thigh. Your Luna complex is forming, so try your best to rein your wolf in. My wolf demanded respect. While I was not close to her, I agreed. We certainly did not deserve this treatment. You have always been my kid, Leela. Even when you grow to the age of 300, you will be my kid. When I become one with the moon, you will still be my kid. Father sighed and ran a stressed hand through his thick hair. I'd wronged you. Really, I have. I don't know what to say other than I'm sorry. I should have prepared you for all this. I don't know why I thought that you seeing your new siblings would bring you happiness. Maybe I was in denial, but I really am sorry. He swallowed, eyes glossy. I'm sorry I didn't look for you enough. I really did believe deep down that I trained you enough to survive on your own, and risking the lives of those men wasn't worth it, especially when I know what it feels like to lose a child. But I'm so sorry. Father stood from his chair, eyes downcast as he got down on one knee and bowed down to me. I stopped breathing. Forgive me, Leela, daughter of the North. He shook his head, disgusted at himself. Forgive me, and I will rattle the stars for you. My eyes snapped to Lucas. Do it, Verdi, he chanted. Do it. That was all it took for me to speak with my heart. I love you, Father. I swallowed, but I do not forgive you. Chapter 27. I did not sleep properly that night. Guilt swarmed my entire body, and the image of Father's distraught face when I didn't grant him a place in my heart stayed in my mind. It was awfully there, that feeling sitting right on top of my chest. I could have forgiven him and stopped myself from feeling that way, but that would have kept him safe on his high horse, thinking he got away with what he did. Stressed, I turned in my bed, only to be greeted by Lucas' wonderful face as he snoozed the night away. He looked wonderful in his sleep. To honor my deep need for respect, Luca created a border of pillows to separate our bodies from touching one another. But that night, separation was the last thing I wanted. I craved warmth, sentiment, and contact. I craved feeling light, airy, and delicate. I craved love. Using my elbows, I sat up straight and began dismantling our border as gently as I could, picking up each pillow and throwing it to the ground with a small thud. All while doing that, images of Father's face and fragments of Slaiman's hurtful words began popping up in my brain. I would have paid my entire life's savings to find out why my brother, my own blood, was treating me so poorly. It was like I was going to cry over him. He surely didn't deserve that, but it just hurt. It may be petty of me to hold it against him, but I almost died killing that beast in the outskirts, all because I didn't want him to die. Did I remind him of a memory he did not want to recall? Did I do something without realizing I hurt him? Did my existence cause him pain? Once all the pillows were on the ground, I sat there, back against the headboard of the bed, staring down at my fiddling fingers. Mother, I spoke to myself. Where are you when I need you with all my being? My head shifted so I was looking at Luca, and an instinctive smile grew on my lips. He made me happy with one look. He made the butterflies in my stomach turn to bees with one touch. He made my chest feel full in a way my present family couldn't. In a way only Mother could. I knew I should have been feeling grateful that I still had family alive, but that day, I would have traded both Slaiman and Father for Mother's presence, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm positive I would have done that. But I didn't know a witch powerful enough to resurrect the dead, and I was pretty sure that was a grace and in accordance with the moon goddess. Come here. Lucas' groggy voice made me eyes snap to his serene figure. Right here. He lifted his arm, creating a small space right between his chest and the mattress for me to rest. I don't want you to be uncomfortable, Hobby, I said, lips rising at the side of his sleepy face. He grabbed my thigh and gently pulled me downwards, forcing a gasp out of me as I slid from the headboard and into his bare chest. Instinctively, my palm rested at his pec, balancing myself from the strength of his graceful pull. Much better. His arms went around my waist as he snuggled his face deeper into my neck. Much better. I giggled softly as his breath in my neck. the sensation mimicking a tickle. Go to sleep, Verdi. He laid a small kiss to my neck, forcing an avalanche of fire to rise from my skin. Go to sleep. I did as he told me. After tracing our initials into his chest for minutes on end, I fell asleep. I woke up feeling alive. The phrase was worded strangely. I know, but my soul felt brighter than it ever had. Maybe it was because I woke up to the view of the river and Lucas' wonderful scarred skin. Maybe it was because I had finally gotten it off my chest that I didn't forgive Father for what he had done. Maybe it was because after a long while, I finally felt somewhat like myself. Oddly enough, I woke up feeling full of affection. Now that, I had no idea why it came about, but I didn't mind it. In fact, I came to the conclusion that as a female I was rather clingy and needed peculiar amounts of daily affection to remain functional. I drummed my fingers against Lucas' chest, an attempt to wake him up, a desperate call for attention, but to no avail. He remained sleeping, slightly offended, yet still smiling. I sat up on one elbow and blew onto his face. Adorably, his nose scrunched and he shook his head, falling into a deeper slumber. There was only one way to wake him up, and that way involved sacrificing my mountain of pride, as lightly as I could, like a swan moving through water without rippling it. I moved closer to him so that my lips grazed the tips of his ears. Can I kiss you? His grip on my waist tightened, and his eye flew open. Leela, he sat up. Groggy, you cannot wake me up like that. I rose a brow. Why is that? His jaw ticked as he readjusted the covers so they remained above his waist. Goddess, you infuriate me. Woman, the only time you decide to seduce me is at the ass crack of dawn. Why were you having a nice dream? A very nice dream. I swatted his chest. Luca. He fell back onto the bed, expression painful. Leela, he whined. What? Prepare a cold shower for me. Holy. My head fell backwards and I cackled. A hand held to my stomach at the power of my laughter. He looked so small asking me to prepare that shower for him, so much that I wanted to prepare it for him and carry him to it. And it made me feel giddy. I don't see anything funny here, he said, smiling. And I don't see you preparing my shower. Woman. I felt his fingers drum a foreign rhythm to my thighs. They spread a warmth throughout the entirety of my legs, a warmth Thessa appreciated. All right. You'll prepare it. I got off the bed. Anything for you. Hobby. Stop it. As Luca took a shower, I began getting ready. For what exactly? I didn't know. But it was nice to put a kaftan on every now and then, especially when they were colored a midnight blue or a deep green, littered in wonderful crystals and exotic patterns. That day, though, I put a nude-colored kaftan on. I didn't know what it was, but something pulled me to that color, an invisible string if you would. It brought out the tan of my skin and highlighted the slimness of my waist and made me feel beautiful. Maybe all the times Lucas said I was pretty finely sunken that day. But really, I felt wonderful. As I lined my eyes with kohl, a black liner, a knock sounded at the door, forcing me to stop. Who could it be? I thought. I ran down the stairs, put my ballerina flats on and opened the door. Instantly, a smile was put on my face. Nader, what are you doing here? I squatted down to face my younger half-brother. It's too dangerous for you to be walking through the market unguarded. His eyes lit up. You remembered my name. Of course I would. Well, if you remembered my name, why did you forget that you promised me a painting? He crossed his arms over his chest. The craftsmen are ready with their paints and colors. They even chose a canvas as tall as this doll as this door. For a future alpha, you really do need to improve your communication skills. I chuckled. He frowned. How? You didn't give me a date. But I think I can spare saving the world for a painting with you. Nader smiled so brightly I felt my heart burst. He grabbed my hand and pulled me to him, wrapping his arms around my neck. Shocked, I slowly slid my arms around his waist and patted his back. He was so small, so pure and full of light. He was the exact opposite of Slaiman, a complete contrast to his father. If I wasn't mistaken, I would have said he reminded me of myself when I was younger, before I was thrown into the outskirts. With a heavy heart, I pulled away from him so that I could stare him in the eyes. "Thank you." "Really?" His smile softened. "Let's go then." "All right, but I need to inform my mail that I'll be leaving. Could you give me a minute?" "Your husband." "No, my mail. Soon-to-be husband." "Nader," Luca said from behind me, forcing a flinch out of me. My cheeks got so red. I looked like a raw tomato. "Honestly, you're so big." Nader gushed. "Will I be like you one day?" I gulped and shifted my vision to face Luca. He was looking straight back at me. "Maybe. It all depends on how hard you work." Luca's eyes went down the length of my body, an unreadable expression on his face as he analyzed me. It made me nervous, but what made me more nervous was that word. Husband. It reminded me of my parents' relationship, one I wanted nothing to do with and one I detested with a passion. "I will consider making a deal with you to train me, King Balusi, but I must have my painting done before 4 p.m. Nader grabbed my hand and pulled me outside the house, replenishing my smile. "Have a good day." "You too, Nader," Luca said, looking ravishing as ever in his leather armor. You too, you too." The door was then shut and we began walking to Nader's home. Where was he going? Nader, wait. Nader, wait. I need to ask my mail something. If I tell you a secret, will you promise not to tell anyone? Nader interrupted. I swallowed before nodding. "The king told me to keep you away from him today, but he didn't signify exactly why. I want to impress him, and since you're cool, would you please help me?" I frowned. "Really? Don't be sad." He said it was something good. Why was he wearing armor? Nader held a finger to his lips. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷. Who knows? He might be able to hear us. I softly swatted Nader on the back of his head. "Nader, that is not how you keep a secret." "What? Why, if nobody other than you and I know, then it still is a secret now. If anybody other than you knows, it is no longer a secret. Now that you've told me, I will remain stressed throughout the entire day, trying my best to figure out what the king has planned." I sighed but frowned once I noticed Taylor was playing with the collar of his shirt. "Are you feeling hot?" He nodded, a pout on his lips. "I told Mother I didn't want to wear this shirt, but..." I interrupted Nader by placing my hands under his shoulders and carrying him to my chest. He laughed, squirming in my arms at the sensation of my hands on his armpits. The sight made me laugh. "Is the future alpha ticklish?" No. I cannot be ticklish." I balanced him on the side of my body so he was comfortable. So if I do this, I graze my fingers to the side of his waist, forcing a giggle out of him. "You won't laugh." "No, oh, but you just did." "I didn't. Liars don't make good alphas." Nader. The second I said that, I saw Father at the end of the market watching me with a smile on his face. "Did you hear what I said?" At the sight of Father's figure, my smile vanished and my world turned less colorful. But thankfully, Nader was there to cheer me up. "I'm sorry I lied," he mumbled. I booped his nose, turning his frown upside down. "As long as you apologize and regret it, it's fine." "So if I kill someone and apologize, is it fine?" I gasped, exaggerated. Nader, no. If you kill someone, their death will remain a weight in your shoulders forever. Killing someone should be a last option, something you only do if your life is in danger. An O formed on his lip and his brows rose. I thought as Alpha I could do whatever I wanted. I shook my head as we neared Father's castle. "You only do what would benefit your people and your kingdom. Nader, your needs come last when you're Alpha." We passed by Father, Nader in my arms and defaced words spilling out of my mouth as we did so. His eyes remained on us until we disappeared and reached the beautiful arch that led to a frown replaced the smile on his lips. The frown was supposed to make me feel better. And, in a way, having power over the way he felt did make me feel better. But it also made me feel very guilty. That I was dragging the situation and dramatically causing him to feel a way even I didn't want to feel. Would the moon goddess approve of this? I thought. Do you like our home? 𝐿𝐸 asked, leaning his head against my collarbone. It's beautiful. I sighed at the palm trees that lined the entrance of the castle, at the beautifully shaped entrances and carved walls. Much more beautiful than the home I grew up in. But you're 𝐿𝐸𝐳. Surely your home was similar to ours. I've only gained this title 3 weeks ago. Habibi. I smiled sadly at him. So you were poor. You could say that, wow. I hope I've humbled you. I shut my mouth before I continued that word. Brother. I feel humbled. He stared at me. Childlike wonder saturated in his beautiful eyes. So you didn't need all this wealth to establish your name. Well, your vocabulary is advanced, I said, surprised as we finally entered the living area of the castle. How old are you? I'm 4. That's adorable. 𝐿𝐸 swatted the back of my head. Hard. I hissed. What in the world was that for? You can't call an alpha adorable. You're supposed to be calling me handsome, powerful and gregarious. I swatted the back of his head before putting him down, smirking as he rubbed the wounded area. Well, you're a handsome little man. Rude, but handsome. I only did it because you called me adorable. I rolled my eyes but followed him into a more private seating area, where I found Slaiman and a short, old man holding jars paints. Slaiman looked serene as the man explained exactly how he created the violet color using the green and blue paints even sweet. It reminded me of the days when he used to teach me how to draw after father butchered me while training. It reminded me of the days when he used to sing me to sleep and hold me when I had nightmares. He caught me staring at him and immediately backed away from the old man. 𝐿𝐸, he let out, hands behind his back and armor costing his body. Welcome home. I didn't address him. Rather, I squatted down to face 𝐿𝐸. How would you like me to pose? 𝐿𝐸 smiled before jumping on the wonderful green seating that lined the entire wall, crossing his legs over one another and leaning against the pillows and placing his hands atop his knees. Like this. I want you to look like a queen, but more feminine and relaxed. Mother always says posture says more about a person than his words. She's right. In fact, I think that's the best thing you've uttered today, I said while sitting right next to 𝐿𝐸 and posing the way he wanted me to. Like this. Right. Exactly. He exclaimed, getting into his position. He stood next to me, standing straight and placing both fists on his hips. Is this all right, Sir Ollie? The painter looked up and smiled, eyes crinkling. The guard is wearing beautiful colors. They will be wonderful to paint. You, 𝐿𝐸, are wearing lousy clothes. You reminded me. I'm supposed to wear my armor. 𝐿𝐸 rushed out of the room. You'll be right back. Guard 𝐿𝐸. Slaiman's eyes followed 𝐿𝐸 until he disappeared to his room. Silence accompanied us as Ollie, the painter, began sorting out his jars. All that could be heard was the birds singing and the wind swiveling through the morning air. From the window behind me, sun shined into the room and enveloped a comfortable warmth. You can ignore me now, Slaiman said, walking till he was in front of me. 𝐿𝐸, I have nothing to say to you. It sure seems like the opposite. I looked down at my nails, trying to control the fire blossoming within my heart for 𝐿𝐸. Slaiman made it very hard to not be angry. Really, I considered it at 𝐿𝐸. Stop being so childish. It'll stop when you stop. Brother, I seethed. The painter paused as I addressed Slaiman by his status to me. Quickly, he regained his composure and resumed his sorting of his paints. I wanted to apologize. 𝐿𝐸, Slaiman sighed, cheeks burning, for the way I've been acting. You sound like a gun is being held to your head. 𝐿𝐸 wants me to apologize to you, so you don't think you did anything wrong. I scoffed. You disgust me. 𝐿𝐸 told me she went looking for you the night of the war yesterday. Slaiman's nostrils flared. If she didn't go looking for you, maybe then my child would be alive. My heart fell into my stomach and seethed. You have got to be kidding me. I shut my eyes. Jaw clenched. Jaw clenched. Really? You never cease to amaze me. What is that supposed to mean? Slaiman, you're really blaming me for killing your child. My eyes burned. Of all people, you're blaming me. I was so livid and disappointed. The anger on Slaiman's face soon slid away to a look of nothingness. He wasn't happy. He was sad. Just empty. Slaiman, I really don't know what to say to you other than to get out of my sight. I stood up so my eyes leveled with him. Get out before my wolf challenges you and slits your throat. I loved that kid before it was born. If he had just listened to me, maybe then I would have told him that I painted an image of the stars for him as a gift for his child. If he just took the second to think before he spoke, maybe then he would have realized that I spent he did when he was forced to join the Northern Army. If he just stopped putting up this awfully manufactured persona of dull strength, maybe then he wouldn't be such an ass. Leela, my wolf, was scratching, begging to be released. It hurt. Get out. It was barely a whisper, but it was vocal. You are no match for my wolf and you know it. His face faltered and he swallowed. I'm sorry, Slaiman muttered, but you can't blame me for feeling this way. My claws elongated and ripped through to fabric of the sofa. This is the last time I'm asking you to leave. A growl laced my tone. Don't make me do something I'll regret. With eyes cast down to the floor, Slaiman walked out of the living area, leaving behind only the rattling of his armor. Would you like me to include the new rips in the sofa and the painting? Asked the old man, a small smile on his face. I let out a curt breath, unable to regain my composure. Why not? After 8 gruesome hours of sitting still and holding in my laughter at Nader's rather cheeky remarks, the painting was finally done. While I did hate staying seated in that sofa for such a long time, I definitely would do it again if it meant Luca and I could get a painting similar to that of what Nader would get to keep. Staying still really wasn't easy after Slaiman's confession. Just the fact that he thought I was to blame for his child's death hurt me. Stabbing a knife to my heart would be more merciful than blaming me for such a thing. It was currently evening and Ollie, the painter, was getting ready to leave. Nader had to go train and I was left alone in the wondrous northern castle, still sitting in that damn seat. I didn't know the Alpha was your father. Ollie pondered. It would be gravely wrong for him to keep you a secret. I sighed. I still wonder why I am a secret. A father would only keep you a secret if it meant he was protecting you. No man would want to deny himself the glory of bragging that his daughter is the guard of all guards. Protect me from what, though? I crossed my arms over my chest. I can protect myself. He as a father. In his eyes. Only he can protect you. At those words my eyes snapped up to his. He didn't bother looking for me. Ollie, I swallowed. I swallowed. And how would you know? The old man smiled sadly. I had a daughter, one just like you. Excellent warrior. The night of the war she died. But I didn't know she died until I went looking. He rubbed at his chest and paused. Maybe your father didn't look for you himself because he didn't want to find you dead. Sometimes I wish I was a little more ignorant and didn't go looking for my girly-ass body. I may have been a happy man if I didn't. I never considered that a possibility. That he never looked for me because he didn't want me to be dead. I'm sorry for your loss. Don't apologize. She's happy you're up there. Soon. I'll be with her. A smile rose to my lips. What was she like? The sound of the door being slammed open stopped me from completing my sentence. Ollie was so startled he dropped a jar of his paint to the ground. Thankfully, the lid was tightly shut, so none of the carpets were too awfully stained. But the sound was loud. Father stride into the living room, face determined as he saw me seated at the couch. I know you don't want anything to do with me. Leela, Father straightened his back, trying his best to appear in harm to me. But the witch has awakened and she only wants to speak to you. I connected eyes with Ollie and he gave me a knowing look, one that told me to be the bigger person. Sighing, I looked back at Dad. All right. I'm coming with you.